Let's bring you our latest news headlines. Now, it's been a month since regular teaching was suspended for various schools as part of measures to contain coronavirus, and so far, online studies have become a new phenomenon or the norm. Now, many people have lauded the process so far, but the situation is not same for Emmanuel Asiedu, a visually impaired level 400 student of the University of Ghana. With the challenges regarding accessibility and internet services for online learning, Emmanuel is concerned about his performance and that of 100 other students with special needs to the University of Ghana in their final semester examinations. Joy News Evans Aziamo Mensah sat through a class with Emmanuel and observed it was impossible for him to contribute during class discussions online.
The fast spread of the novel coronavirus has disrupted lots of activities, including education. Here in Ghana, universities have adopted online learning to augment studies for the remaining parts of the semester. The University of Ghana has announced it was going to use its Sakai platform to undertake this activity. It is 30 minutes past 5, and I'm here at Adentan with Emmanuel Asiedu, a visually impaired level 400 student at the University of Ghana, who's just joined his colleagues for their industrial sociology class. He says more than ever, they feel left behind as the platform is not friendly to him and his visually impaired colleagues.
The problem is that sometimes because it's Sakai place. Maybe sometimes when you go to the Sakai chat room where a lecture will be taking place there, because so many students are on exams, right? So you have to keep on refreshing, and sometimes by the time you are done refreshing the page, whatever has been said, and you have to go back and you'll be left behind and stuff like that. Yeah. But sometimes to connecting your I tried my phone with my hotspot to my laptop, and data is quite expensive now, so when I turn it on, like less than 10 minutes, all my data got finished.
Aside the challenges associated with the platform, Emmanuel says it is difficult participating during lessons due to the huge numbers.
Yeah, I don't recall asking questions. Why? It's the last class, and as I said, keeping up is very difficult. So by the time I'll finish reading the lecturer's message, right, time would have been far gone. You get it? Because as I keep on swiping, I have to read and make meaning out of whatever the lecturer has sent onto the page. And other students to be sending messages. You get it? So the messages pile up.
Emmanuel says he's uncertain what will happen if the school decides to conduct its end of semester exams online.
I don't know. I think it will be very, very difficult for us, especially visually impaired students. Not all of us are privileged to have access to the internet or have access to laptops or computers. As I said, some use Braille. So just imagine how would those people do it, or how would some of our colleagues who get online and right, even those of us who have access to laptops, how are we going to get on and do this? Because it will be the first time. It will be very challenging. Over there we have centers that we go and take our exams, sort of do our exams there. It's a laboratory for us. So when the computer, so when you go there, they just install put all the questions onto the desktops for us to do it. But since we are home, it will be very, very challenging. Maybe the school decides to come for me here, or maybe they will come and set up things for me here to take the exams.
With the digital divide that has been deepened by the online studies, issues about inclusive education has been brought to the fore, and steps must be taken to rectify same. Failing which Emmanuel and his friends will continue to be locked out of the educational system in Ghana if this pandemic does not come to an end anytime soon. Evans Aziamo Mensah's report for Joy News.
We all do know several markets across Ghana have been closed down since the outbreak of coronavirus as a result of non-compliance to social distancing protocols. The Atebu market is, however, still in operation, with traders blatantly disregarding calls by authorities to observe social distancing and also use nose masks. Anasabit has more.
It is market day here in Atebubu, the capital of the Atebubu Amantin municipality. With time running out for these traders, sellers and buyers, social distancing, which is hugely being recommended by health authorities so far as the prevention of the COVID-19 is concerned, that particular directive has completely been neglected here at the Atebubu market. We want to speak with some of these traders to find out why they are mingling with each other in these dangerous times when we have been advised to at least leave some meters between ourselves and strangers. So
the
people here are not adhering to the social distancing directives. This is a market filled with different people, and we do not know who is infected. So we have to take social distancing seriously.
Social distance
The market is congested today as a result of the closure of the Adria market, and this will create problems for us. We might be affected by a lockdown, so authorities should do something about this development. Aside the issue of social distancing, we are now being advised to strictly use nose masks whenever we are getting into public places. But from what we are seeing in this market, a significant percentage of the people who are spotted in this market are without nose mask. Any reason why? Government is only trying to help us by asking us to use the nose masks. So those who are not using them are only exposing themselves to higher risks. Government has done its part. It's now up to us to also comply. It's really worrying, but personally, I only saw some yesterday. It's not that common here. We are afraid of the virus because there are lots of strangers here. That is why I bought this earlier today. People are only deciding not to comply. This thing is sold for only 2 Ghana cedis for our own protection. Some say it's because of the heat when you have it on, but I think it's better this way than to be infected. So from the Atebubu market here in the Bono East region, I am Anas Sabit for Joy News.
And just let's run this by you. It was historically responsible for many deaths during the 1918 flu pandemic, the H5N1 bird flu outbreaks, and the 2003 SARS outbreak. Now, it's probably behind the most severe cases of COVID-19. These damaging overreactions have come to be known as cytokine storm. Now, Lava Firm's Kwesi Debra speaks with molecular immunologist and virologist at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, Dr. Mohammed Mutochelu, on the phenomenon.
Dr. Mohammed Mutochelu, I'm a senior lecturer here in the Department of Clinical Microbiology. I'm a molecular virologist and immunologist. Cytokine storm is an immune defense strategy during viral infection.
When your temperature is so high, high fever, and you're having low blood pressure, and you're having some extreme fatigue and nausea, don't tell me you've recently been diagnosed with COVID-19. Yes, then I'm afraid to announce that your body is under siege. You're undergoing a phase known as cytokine storm.
So it's not unique or limited to COVID-19. Other coronaviruses also use the cytokine storm. Influenza, the Spanish flu, on record, cytokine storm was critical in the killing.
When a virus attacks the body, the immune system releases cytokines, which are supposed to marshal all the secretive forces in the body to attack the enemy. It's more like the immune system's command room.
So during viral infection of the human system, we narrow it down to the cellular level because the viruses infect the cells first. There are two immune mechanisms. That is the innate immunity, which is not very strong, but good at initial defense, and to limit the infection, buy time for the second, which is the adaptive immune system, which consists of the T cells, the B cells, and later on the antibodies, to come and help.
Indeed, the invasion of the enemy's camp is expected of the body's security forces. And imagine the chaotic atmosphere during a war.
Sometimes that is how it contributes to fever, because it releases all these cytokines, the interferons.
But unlike a certain duo, the cytotoxic T cells and the natural killer cells, CTC, NKC, and you know why. They contain a certain weapon, perforin. Perforin. What word comes into your mind? Perforin, perforin, perforate. Yes, that's exactly what they do. They perforate infected cells and destroy them. When these immune security forces are trying to attack the infected cell and it's not working, or because their weapon, perforin, is acting up, then the command center, the cytokines, yeah, they know all that. And do you know what they do? They call for backup. And that's where all the trouble starts.
It is a deadly exaggerated one. It's like boom. Then the system is supposed to regulate the cytokines. But for some people, especially the aged, the ability to self-regulate, what is a deadly pro-inflammatory response in immunology? They can't, it's like you open tap to wash your hands or wash something. When you are done, you want to shut the tap up. Now in this case, the tap is open, then it can't shut. Then there's an influx of all these coming in, including water. And then the person's lungs fills with water. The person struggles to breathe. So the person is assisted with external oxygen, ventilators. So in that process, the amount of oxygen is reduced because you don't get enough oxygenated blood to go in and bring out the toxic ones. That exchange is compromised. So ventilators are required. So in a nutshell, the cytokine storm produced by COVID-19 is a deadly inflammatory response to the viral infection, which is not regulated.
They went to kill the enemy. Unfortunately, their weapons couldn't work. They called for backup, but the problem persisted. Sadly, they went mental and started attacking the body. My name is Kwesi Deborah, and you just heard the phenomenon called cytokine storm, where the body's armies go bananas.
Cytokine. Kwesi Deborah there. But moving on, before we wrap up for the news update, government announced compulsory wearing of nose masks after lifting a 3-week lockdown. Now, back in the northeast regional town of Bunkurugu, a cursory glance shows nearly 99% of the population simply just wear no masks at all. Social distancing, regular hand washing and the use of sanitizers are also not being observed, especially in market centers. We decided to have all these observations put together in a report compiled by Elias Utanko.
It's a busy day here at Buprongo Market. Residents seem to have thrown government social distancing caution to the wind as they flood market centers, drinking sports, and also organize public gatherings. The community of 3,000 people has only 3 Veronica buckets, one stationed at the Chief's Palace and the remaining 2 at the market centre and the district assembly premises. Some of the residents who spoke to Joy News blamed the local authorities as they claim face masks and other personal protective gears are not even readily available in the area for purchase.
Over here, the face mask that I was having is the one that when it's dirty, you can't wash it again. It's the paper one. So when you wear it 2 days, you can't continue to be using it all the time. So that's the reason why I'm not wearing some. If you get some, we'll wear.
Frankly speaking, it's just few of us that can acquire license. Within the area, some are selling it 3, some 4 cities. The majority of our people cannot afford to buy those masks.
It's very difficult to get it because when they bring it, we cannot afford, some of us cannot afford to buy it. So that is why some of us are not in those masks.
For others, they believe they could be immune to the virus. District Chief Executive Alhaji Majid Dut, acknowledging the concerns raised by the residents, assured the Assembly is acquiring face masks and other personal protective materials which will be distributed to the residents.
We are trying as much as we could to see, especially the offices, we want this week to procure face masks as been directed by the National Security that we should try. The MMDs should try and ensure that we procure face masks for all workers within the district and even supply to the market only. If we can remember all these things, we are working to see what we can do within the week, not next week.
The same story here at Buprungu can be told in other parts of the Northeast region, indicating the urgent need for authorities fighting the pandemic to pay attention, especially in rural communities, where there is already a vicious cycle of poverty, hunger.
Well, make sure you join us this morning. There are a lot of people who always look forward to us. Some particular persons, Mrs. Felicia Irajua Danso, good morning to you. Work with the University of Cape Coast School right here in Accra. And also it's your birthday this morning. Mrs. Doris Oklu, you live in Akachi with your husband, and Mensa Oklu, have a great one as well. And Evelyn Yache Bafo, have a great time. Good morning to all of you. We'll be right back after this. I tell you, we're on. Mama, good morning to you. I love the way you look. I love the way you look.
You do,
you look a bit different. If only people could see.
The whole of me.
Yeah, you know, right? The whole of you. The whole of you.
Loves all of you. Well,
how was your weekend?
I think it was good, I think it was very quiet.
Yeah.
Nothing much, just family.
Great.
And yeah, I mean, coronavirus is forcing all of us to have a lot more family time, and I think it's very healthy. So there's a positive side to all the frustrations and all the anxieties, all the scary moments when you think about coronavirus. But when you shut your ears and you're just home with your family, you think about the other side. You know?
I know, right? I have to say good morning to Sally for Combat this morning.
I was just going to ask, how was your weekend? And then
yes, because
there we go now, boom,
I spent some great time with Sally for Combat and the rest of the family. We were zooming and interacting. And he's giving me a request this morning for a friend's birthday. I'll share that with all of us.
How is his wife doing, by the way?
Flora.
She works with the immigration.
Ghana Immigration. So
yes.
Flora is doing well. They are coping quite well.
You should get Flora on the show. I want to interact with her if she's still working on the ground, so we can talk about border and security matters.
Formulating ideas on there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do that.
But we hope you're all good as well. It's 4th of May. We've entered into another month. I mean, it's unbelievable. When you're home, you don't even realize the days are going. But now we're in the 5th month of the year 2020. We never expected this would be the picture in 2020.
Yeah, Mama, we have a discussion that I'm quite happy about. It's how coronavirus has changed not only, you were talking about family and family time and quiet time and all, but the world of work.
Yeah.
And if you speak to many colleagues, especially if you're a middle-level person in an organization, you get to know that, look, people are being given the sack, or the way they are doing work is changing. But there will be implications when all this phase is off, because then the employer will get to know that, look, it looks like I can make you work half the time and get the same results, and so I have to pay you half for that time.
Well, things are really changing.
Yeah.
I mean, we're standing here and we're talking and we're excited, but not everybody can be in this mood, because there are people who, when the month ended in April, they haven't even been paid, and they don't even know whether or not the money is going to come. And at this point, you need the job, so you don't really want to be tough and be so demanding. There are people who have also received letters who, after April, are not going to go back to work. So things have changed. I mean, apart from the fact that people are working from home and working from all sorts of places, there are people who don't even have the job itself. So I'm interested in this conversation that we're having on human resource at the workplace today.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Charlie, you're a great resource. Start with the Daily Graphic.
We need you to send in your comments early, so we can ask your questions as well, but don't miss that conversation. Let's start with a review of the newspapers. I've got the Daily Graphic newspaper, so here we go with what's on the front page of the Graphic. Managing COVID-19 patient, Exim Bank funds Tobinco to produce Drax $5 million facility to be advanced. That's the banner headline. It gives you a flashback. So, and it says Mr. Samuel Amot Tobin, CEO of Tobinco Group, conducting Mr. Kwadwo Boateng, Jemfi, and Nana Dan Kauso II, both officials of the Exim Bank, during a visit to the premises of the company recently. Well, when we show you the front page of the Daily Graphic, you see what I have just described on the front page of the paper, with picture by Ebo Hansen. Also, travelers, operators welcome resumption of domestic flights. Information Ministry, Mahama, loud media for COVID-19 rule. New Okuapehene installed with pictures, and we will certainly talk about that. Well, in the absence of us putting it on the screens for you, this is it. That's how the front page of the paper looks like. So let's look at the back page. Waste companies appeal to government over landfills closure. Exercise to the silt drains in flood-prone areas begins in Accra. That's how the back page. Now let's look at the center spread of the Daily Graphic. New Okuapehene installed. Pope Francis appoints new apostolic nuncio to Ghana. Shipping lines, terminal operators waive demurrage and rent charges. This story that we've all been interested in, it says a short but historic ceremony to install a new paramount chief of the Ekuapem traditional area was held yesterday in ancient town of Ekropong, the traditional capital of Ekuapem. The new Okuapehene, or Siadeyo Kwesi Kufu Abebiu 34, is also known in private life as Odishie Kwadwo Kesi Entry. He succeeds Osiadeyo Nanado Danko III, who died 5 years ago. Osiadeyo Kufu II is a graduate of the Westchester Community College, Valhalla, New York, and an old student of the Presbyterian Boys Senior High School, Legon, in Accra. Well, it's not the nice things I've talked about that made headlines and got a lot of people talking over the weekend, but it's the manner in which they carried on this exercise, plain disregard of the directive issued by the president, with security officials that we've seen, the Ghana Police Service, arresting and prosecuting people, with some who were not able to pay, put in jail, actually protecting the people who were seemingly doing the opposite of what had been issued and what really is law. It gives, it defies
logic.
Oh my God, and it's, there's very little that you can say. And when you hear that there are people doing a depot ceremony and the police went there to arrest them, then you don't know. It's just the selective manner in which it appears we're enforcing the law. It doesn't give anybody confidence at all, at least not how it looks like on the surface. Roland, I'm done with the graphic.
Well, so let's look at the Daily Guide. And the Daily Guide has on the front page, fetish priest killed ex-soldier. And it also takes a look at other stories as well. And we do have this with an attached picture. Up there we have, we're told that a bishop, a man of God, was he? Yeah, I think so. Seeing his clipping, so but he was an actor as well. Kumawood actor Bishop Nyako dies, and this has gotten a lot of trends on social media. I really wasn't familiar with the figure, even though his face looks quite familiar. But you know, it looks like he was somebody who was well known to those who loved the Ghana movie.
Die and see. See the people who pretend that they know you and say all sort of things about you. But check your last birthday and see if those people, you know, stretched their hands to say happy birthday or wish you happy birthday. Yeah.
Other stories on the front page of the Daily Guide. Anxiety in NDC over new register. COVID-19 hit 2,169 as 229 recover, we're told. Government also rejects Nana COVID-19 billboard, and it's for good reason, according to the Information Ministry, because the picture of the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was without him wearing a nose mask. And
is that it?
There was a quote, yeah.
Or is this contradicts the message that the board was carrying?
Exactly. The quote attached to that billboard, and I've cited it a couple of...
so who failed us?
Well, I think this was sponsored by the Advertising
Both sides
Association.
Failed, in my opinion.
Yeah, so I think that maybe they should have gotten back to the team and say, look, this is a sample of what we have. Either that or maybe somebody approved.
I thought they had done that. Because if you listen to that audio really well, when they were doing the presentation, I thought I heard the rep of the AAG say that they had some samples that they were forwarding. But either way, I'm saying that if government failed and gave that picture, I'm just, and this is not for a fact, I'm just saying that let's just assume that the content was approved by the states. How about the Advertisers Association? Well, because they are the professionals. I mean, if the message, because you have to be sure that what you seek to put out there is carrying the right message. So in terms of the picture and also the words, they must correspond. And I think that's a professional duty. So that's where I'm coming from. And this is not from a factual place. This is just on the surface of what we're all looking at and thinking. I've heard a lot of people bash governments, particularly the Information Ministry, but I think both sides need to take the responsibility. That's just what I'm thinking.
Well, so we do have Accra desilting begins, and that story is also there. Those stories are... Okay, government though has also extended tax filing dates, reducing interest rates. That's a good thing to look at.
Master, the money no day, so if you want to go all hard, I just see me, I don't have.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, let's take a back page, look at the back page of the paper. It says Abedi Yeboah didn't take winning bonuses, and that's a former player of the Black Stars, Joe Addo, a former Black Stars player and former central defender for Accra Hearts of Oak, was very good in his day. Could hear Joe Addo.
Oh, that's why the name Joe Addo is very familiar. Like once you hear it,
I'm surprised.
Yeah.
You're a latter-day supporter of the Hearts of Oak, I believe.
Oh yes. I will not pretend.
Yeah, but Kevin De Bruyne plays for Manchester City. But there's a story that's been circulating in international sports media, indicating that he's hinting exit of City. Well, he's gotten all the accolades there, won a lot of championships. Not the UEFA Champions League though. And so that's it. Bayern defeat, the only time I cried, and Mourinho apparently confessed that the Real Madrid deserved to win the Champions League during his 3-year spell at the club. Mourinho. Yeah, one of my favorite coaches in the world. Okay, so let's go to the Custodian. The Custodian news.
Such a disaster at Spurs.
The Custodian newspaper has on the front page, Ghana Exim Bank and Tobinco team up, and apparently, according to the Custodian and the other newspapers, also enumerated on the front page of the Times, the graphic as well. They are supposed to produce medicines for COVID-19 patients. It has an attached picture of Nana Amo Tobin, the first executive chair, Tobinco Group of Companies, Mr. Lawrence Ajinsam, Ghana. So there's a paper. I'm sorry, we can give you that. MPs also, they are dismissing gossips on COVID-19. And then we have government saluting Ghanaian journalists. Has an attached picture of the Minister for Information. Adjwasafo is also pictured here as donating to 2 orphanages in her constituency, Domi, Kwambinya. Yo. Yeah. And that Joe Ado story is again called from another angle. It says Joe Ado, it says Black Stars, Abedi Pele is Black Stars' best ever captain, according to Joe Ado. And, well, we all loved him during his day.
So I'm sure you forget what's happening now with no action.
Yeah, well,
we're just going back into
flashback. Man,
yeah, flashback. Thank you. That's it. When I saw Benedict do a throwback Thursday last day, I said, aha, a drill. Where are the stories going to come from?
I know, right?
You've got to be creative, but we love the sports, we love the game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how far back into time you go, we still love those statistics. Let's do the final, Roland, can I?
I want to do dispatch.
Okay, you do the
just
dispatch.
keep watching me for some time. The Daily Dispatch is the last paper I'm going to do, so no problem. The Daily Dispatch says 3 regions make up 94% of 2,074. Well, the figure has moved up, but it still hasn't changed, that 94%. COVID-19 victims, lockdown likely in Greater Accra, Ashanti, Eastern regions. This is what the Daily Dispatch is predicting. Or is it not?
Good evening, fellow Ghanaians. It hasn't happened. Where's the prediction coming from?
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not sure there's going to be any lockdown. Look, we're on our own. If you don't wear the fixed masks, you don't use the hand sanitizers, you don't observe the social distances.
But we can't be on our own now.
Well,
we cannot.
It's a choice we have to make. It's a choice we have to make.
Couldn't be. It's got greater consequences. Yep.
Let's see how it goes. But I have a fair idea who my running mate is. JDM, from his last interaction on his Facebook page. Quite interesting when I also tuned in.
Is it the fact that he doesn't have an idea who his running mate is, or is there people want to know?
Oh, I think that usually if you listen to government or MPP communicators, they tend to taunt him. Or the NDC, that look, it looks like they have no person in mind to be named as flag bearer.
Okay, so that's a direct response.
And this one was just a question.
On the
it was
side
a question.
It
wasn't part of the main.
Yeah, but he monitors what people say. I thought it's people wanted to know who his running mate is.
Yeah, true. Not the same. Odisha Kwejo Kese is the new Ekwapim Hene. And there's I
find it rather very interesting that at least the papers that we've reviewed are not even talking about the side of the fact that they just overlooked all those directives. We saw some people wear face masks though, but the greater and I think this was what, Friday's events. Yeah, we saw lots of them not in face masks, not social distancing. But even I think what is even more important, should they have done what they did, considering that
I don't know whether we have the videos. We can just show them
on a thing like that.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that for a public event such as that, and knowing that
shouldn't have happened.
There are many well-meaning people who contribute significantly to one society, whether they are in public life or in private life, but also come from the area. And those who were just installing him decided to flout what the rules would be.
Should this have happened in the first place? Forget about nose mask, forget about social distancing.
They are not even
considering we've got the restrictions that instruments the president, considering the fact that we're not in ordinary times.
So we're told that.
So words of our producer Derek
says this is not an ordinary installation. Well, we do accept that, but
this is just in your face, kind of.
Charlie,
this is in your face.
Aerosol
How do you tell me that you've gone to meet a group of people who are performing depot rights and you've arrested them? How am I supposed to take that when you witness this happened right under your nose? How do you justify the fact that you've prosecuted some people who couldn't pay the fine, and so they've gone to jail?
There was a church. There was a church in Kumasi, a prophet or a pastor who was jailed or arrested subsequently. Very surprising.
How do you justify the fact that the police in the Central Region also pounced on a group of people who had gone to the church? They said they were going to clean the church, and they were arrested. How do you justify that? This is Ghana. This is not like, okay. But listen, Ghana Police Service, you have to tell us something. I don't know if it is tell us something, or because we didn't see you enforcing the law. We did not. We did not.
Look at this.
We didn't see you enforcing the law.
But the reality too is
so how do we rejoice when you say you've arrested some 6 people, some other people who are partying?
We're behaving in this town as if everything is okay. COVID-19 is not around, but you know, we see the rates going
I'm just saying that forget about COVID.
No.
Is there a law or not?
There is.
Should this
have happened
or not?
This way?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, let's come back. Let's come back to. I was going to say let's come back to real life, but that's real life now.
Yeah.
So let's do the finder.
Okay. Please do.
The finder went on break. Is back. Welcome back, Elvis Dako and your team. Front page of the finder: COVID-19 down economy. President directs Bank of Ghana Finance Ministry to find solutions. Imagine that the president directs Finance Ministry and Bank of Ghana to find solutions, and they say we won't do. GMPC donates $1 million towards construction of infectious disease isolation and treatment facility. TUC bemoans devastating job losses triggered by COVID-19. Ghana's confirmed COVID-19 cases hit 2,169 and 8 in dead. The Ghanaian Times, real quick, front page, local production of COVID-19 treatment drugs. Exim Bank to Bingo strike $5 million deal. Getting ready for the rains. We must regularly desilt our drains. Atachia councils as dredge masters. Zoom Lion, others desilt drains in communities and provide stimulus packages for businesses and households. TUC urges government. Now data here. On the back page, Ho MP commends GJA, Volta Regional Branch in COVID-19 fight. FDA seizes 1,285 unregistered products in Central Region.
We're still consuming wholesome products.
The Daily Statesman. Join me to create a progressive nation. President tells Ghanaian workers. Mahama built 808 chips compounds, not 3,000. NPP exposes more NDC lies. DS gets results. Development of Oda Big Tree to commence. That's how it looks like. By way of headlines on the front page of the Daily Statesman newspaper.
We'll make ready with my Joe Online page, but it's a birthday wish. And this one is coming from Salifu Kombat himself, but this one is just to my lovely, pretty wife, not Salifu saying that. Vida Ababila Lamisi, you teach with the Benguri Primary School, Binduri, and it's from your husband, Mwari Joseph Baumia. I hope that I pronounce it well. You're the youngest director, Department of Social Welfare and Community Development, the Boko Municipality, Upper East Region, sponsored by Salifu Combat.
Yeah.
Head of Primary Healthcare Pharmacy, Boko Presbyterian Hospital.
We hear you.
All right. So we have to look at myjohnline.com. I'm available all for you.
All right. On our page, GS reviewing policy on use of electronic gadgets in schools. Dr. Educhum, a deputy education minister, on Beyond the Lockdown yesterday. No reopening date set for schools. Again, him on the show. Akufo-Addo has no power to grant tax waiver, according to Minority Leader. National Service personnel directed to resume work Monday. Popular support for media freedom in Ghana bounces back to majority view, according to Afro Barometer survey. NSMQ, our favorite national science and maths quiz 2020 has been postponed till further notice, obviously because of COVID. and that the Pope's appoints new nuncio to Ghana. Information Minister petitions Bank of Ghana Media Commission about money doublers on TV. Remain calm amid coronavirus pandemic. Mensa Otabil tells Ghanaians. He had a lovely message yesterday in the storm. And also just to update you, in Nigeria, they're beginning to ease their lockdown today.
Yeah, that's good. I know somebody who comes from Nigeria, Thompson Akpang, who works with the ECOWAS office right here in Accra. Good morning to you.
We love you, Roland Walker.
Yeah, he's watching.
Stay with us. We've got sports coming your way. Benedict is all set. Is he doing like a throwback Monday?
Yeah.
Well, you got to stay.
Maybe we'll go to 1992.
Watch.
We play the African Cup of Nations in Senegal. Ziguinchor.
Well, when we come back after sport, we're building up something that Newsfile started on Saturday, and we're also looking at, should we change the way we're fighting this whole coronavirus in Ghana with the numbers going up each day? So you've got to stay us and join that conversation.
Hi there, it's a Monday morning. My name is Benedict Wosu. Time to talk sports here on AM Show. And this morning on the program, we bring you some of the revelations made by former Ghana defender Joado when he appeared on last Saturday's Joy Sports Link on Joy FM with Nathan Lato. Now, the former Hearts player who later became the international relations officer of the club revealed his best ever captain at the Black Stars level was the maestro Abedi Ayew Pele.
I went to the Black Stars in '89. Sam Dodu, may his soul rest in peace. He invited me to the team. I was very, very young. I was still playing for under 20s, I think, when I was invited into the team. And Pokunti was the captain. And then it became Kwesi Appiah for a while. And then Bukat Caesar came and changed things and made Abedi the captain. For all my time that I played in the national team, Abedi was the best captain I ever had. He was unbelievable. I mean, he was so disciplined, more disciplined than we. Because we sometimes we joke, we have fun in training, we take it as, it's all right. When he is in camp, everything changes. The way you see him train is the same way you see him play. He doesn't joke. On the field, everybody is his enemy. Even when you're playing 2-on-2 with Abedi and you are on his team, it's two of you, and you lose, you are in trouble. He doesn't want to lose. That was in his nature. So there were things that he did that was like overbearing to some of us. Because when he came, or when he comes to camp, he makes sure we eat on time, he makes sure we sleep on time, and we weren't used to those things. So a lot of people didn't get it. What this guy, what does he want? Why does he want me to sleep? And he will come literally and come and turn off your lights. You turn your light off. He wants you to sleep so you can have energy to play the game the next day. Some of us took it okay. Some people didn't take it, lightly. They were like, wow, he's too controlling. But for me, he was the best captain. And then, on top of that, when we went to play on the field, he was better than all of us. I mean, apart from him being the captain, he was so good. Some of you saw him. Some of these you young guys, you might have seen what Abedi did. But it's unbelievable. Yeah. And even the matches, you don't see anything. You have to come watch him in training. Okay. It's amazing what he does. And you look at him and you would want to be the same. And those days he was trying to teach us how to be professionals. But some of us didn't get it. Some of us did. And the people who didn't get it were the ones who had problems with him. But for me, I think he was a great leader.
Well, Joado played with Abedi Pele and a host of other top players from 1990 to 1998, and within which they failed to win the Africa Cup of Nations. Well, I asked what caused their inability to end the country's trophy drought then. This is what he had to say.
Football is different percentages, to come to 100%. And I think luck is part of the percentages. You have to have a lot of luck. And that has eluded us for a while. I mean, we've been to 2 finals on penalties and lost both. It doesn't really happen, but it's happened to us. So I would say that part of it is luck. I won't say preparation, because my time we used to prepare a lot. In Winneba, sometimes we'll be in camp the whole year to prepare.
The whole year?
Yeah.
The whole year?
Yeah, the local players will be in camp the whole year.
I see.
We go to our clubs to go and play, but after the games, we go back to camp. you know. So some of us became families and friends, and I still have a friend that I used to play with from under 17, under 20, under 23, Black Stars, and he's still my friend up till today because we grew up together and we're always in camp. So I wouldn't say that preparation was part of it. Luck, sometimes discipline, distraction, you know, those would be some of the factors why we haven't gone all the way, because the talent is there. We had a lot of talent, but to jump the hurdle to the next level, we didn't have that. We didn't have that. I would say that few people did, you know. Abedi for sure, I know, had that in mind, but players like myself, you know, I always had school, so I always had something I could fall on. So I wasn't as dedicated as some of the guys.
Yeah. You mentioned distractions. Which kinds of distractions, if I may ask?
Bickering here and there, you know, infighting, you know, things that shouldn't be a big deal, you know. So we would just like arguments in camp. I remember there was a time, you know, when we go to camp, we play cards. And I'm giving you too much secrets, but it's okay.
I mean,
But more on Joado to come later. The Ghana FA must notify the Confederation of African Football by tomorrow their decision with regards to the strategies they intend to apply to finalize their competitions, be it through completion or annulment. Now, the FA and the other associations have until May 5 to report back to CAF. 11 Wonders coach Ignatius Osei wants the FA to cancel the league.
I have maintained one stand. And my stand is that if this will span more than 2 months, I think it's better to cancel the league and start afresh. But as it looks like now, we all don't know when this thing will be over, so that people's life will go back to normal. Let people not forget that a lot of the clubs in Ghana thrive on gate process. So for us in Ghana here, playing matches under closed doors is out of the equation, because again, most of our matches are not televised live. So playing matches under closed doors is not an option. And if it's not an option, can we, the clubs, or a lot of the clubs, afford travels and sleep? For example, we travel to Accra, everyone that's travel to Accra, all the expenditure for 3 matches without gate process. Is it possible? If that is not possible, then why rush playing the league when it is not safe?
We still stay on Locals and do some more stories. And Tema Youth owner Wilfred Osei-Kweku is not happy with how head coaches of the various national teams were appointed by the current Football Association. Now, Kurt appointed persons to head the technical teams of all the national teams, including Black Stars. Now, but the owner of Tema Youth, that's Osei Palmer, is not impressed by the recruitment method. Well, he spoke to Joy Sports in an exclusive interview.
You ask yourself, if you can handpick every national team coach and place him there, wherein lies the transparency?
Okay, now
you will say you are doing manhunt. Is that the way to go about it?
Well, these are all.
Why wouldn't you open it up?
Yeah,
within every Ghanaian who has the technical acumen to apply.
Within corporate governance, there is space for all of that, where you can either poach or you can open. There, all of these are accepted, aren't they? And an announcement was given that, okay, at this particular time, we have revoked the appointments of all coaches, okay? And then a process was gone through, and these people were
Nat, you have to standardize the way you go about the recruitment process, because the technical team of any team plays a critical role in terms of going forward. We have handpicked every head coach for the respective national teams up to the Black Stars level. Has it always been the case? I quite remember when Kwesi was there, we allowed every coach to apply, even the under 17, the under 16, up to the highest level. They all applied. Interviews were conducted by the technical team for a selection process to be made. The moment you do that, you have practiced what in corporate governance is called transparency. It's not only when it comes to certain aspects of your operations where you emphasize on the tenets of transparency. No, it has been demonstrated everywhere. I've not been happy with the way some members of the technical team of the national teams were selected. We could have done it even in Congress, where everybody will be there and we'll all be able to contribute.
Now, away from the locals, a growing number of Premier League clubs are hoping to play in the remaining fixtures at neutral venues. But with the threat of relegation removed, now top-flight clubs have been told that using up to 10 neutral stadiums will be the only way to complete the season. Brighton say they are not in favour of using neutral venues because it may affect the integrity of the league. Clubs near the bottom of the table feel it is unfair to play in such different conditions when at risk of relegation. The Premier League has been suspended since March 13 because of the coronavirus pandemic, but all clubs are committed to playing the 92 remaining fixtures of the 2019-20 season if and when safe to do so. On that note, we end sports here on the AM show. My name is Benedict Sosa. Thanks so much for your company. The show continues after this short break. We are back same time tomorrow with more sports news. Enjoy the rest of the program.
Well, Ghana now has more than 2,000 confirmed cases of COVID-19. Per World Health Organization standards, we've reached the pandemic stage. What more should government focus on at this point? Well, should we be tackling it any differently from what we've been doing? We want to engage some persons with knowledge on the subjects of viruses and have a conversation on the back of that. We also want to talk a bit about mental health and how we can rope in that in as we go forward with this fight against coronavirus. You can see our case count and how the situation looks like on your screen. What should we be doing again? Is what we're doing enough? We've got Dr. Ruth Owusu-Antwi, who's head psychiatry unit at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital, who'll be joining us via Zoom in the course of the conversation. But to begin it with, we've got Dr. Samuel Essien-Badu. He's a virologist at the University of Cape Coast. Oh, there you are, Dr. Owusu-Antwi. Good to see you. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Bernice. Good to see you too.
Okay, this is Mama V. This is Mama V and Dr. Samuel. Yes, ma'am. And Dr. Essien-Badu.
To be here.
Yes, you did. You spoke to Bernice. Dr. Essien-Badu, good morning to you as well.
Yeah, good morning, Mama V.
Great.
And good morning to your viewers as well.
Great. Good to have you both. You know, just to begin the conversation on the surface of it, and as ordinary Ghanaians would ask, this is to you, Dr. Essien-Badu. The numbers are going up. Why is that? If we have a grip of, and if we know how the virus operates, why are we still climbing?
Thank you very much, Mama V. Our numbers are going up because if you look at our case counts, we've also done a lot of testing compared to other African countries in particular. And it is also obvious from the routine surveillance, the mandatory quarantine, and the contacts that have been traced to have that percentage of infection within our community. So it's largely due to our enhanced capacity to test. That's why we have this number.
So I've got a curious question there. Why is it still going up? Because then shouldn't we have a way of stopping it? I mean, the fact that you're testing, should the results be positive?
I think looking at it largely, if you look at our infection rate per million within our population, I think it is still very minimal. It is not even up to 1 as we speak. And this is very good for us. I mean, if you look at the strategies that have been put in place, and if you look at research reports from Wuhan, Italy, and the US where it started, the very first 3 months is crucial to the spread of infection. Once we're able to contain the infection within the very first 3 months, below an an index of 1, then we are good to go. No.
Dr. Esiabedu, you seem to be breaking up a bit there. I'm not sure if you can hear me, Dr. Esiabedu. We're going to work on that connection. But let me engage. Okay, you can hear me. All right. Can you just end that statement because we missed the greater part of it?
Yes, so basically all I'm trying to say is that apart from our enhanced capacity to test, it is also very important to note that from what is happening elsewhere, the very first 3 months is crucial in the dynamics of the spread of the virus. And if you look at our total number of cases vis-a-vis the total number of tests that we have done, basically the effective reproduction number is still slightly above 1. But if you look at the proportion per million of our population, it is still below 1, which means that, yes, we have tested enough, we have reported enough cases, but there's no cause for alarm. We are still within a comfortable place where we can confidently say that we are containing the spread of the virus. We're not seeing that exponential increase in the number of people who become infected over the period.
What's your understanding in terms of the backlog that we have of samples yet to be tested?
I think we've done a very good job with our routine surveillance and contact tracing. Basically, what that would give us is a slight surge in the
okay,
which is also expected. I mean, hello.
Okay, Dr. Esiabedu, now I think we need to take a breather from you. Let me go to Dr. Usuenchi there. Whilst we still work on your connection, we seem to be having some breaks, and it doesn't help with the flow for this conversation. So we're going to work on that. But let's turn our attention to the head of psychiatry units at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. Perhaps what we don't remind ourselves of a lot of times is that all these numbers, when we talk about over 2,000 infected, when we talk about these numbers, they represent human beings. When we talk about a number of samples that we've taken, waiting to be tested, and the people waiting to know the results of those tests, there are human beings behind that as well. So I want us to get into the mental conversation with you. There are people waiting for their results. And on Newsfile on Saturday, we had somebody call in to say he had been tested with his wife and they've been waiting for the results. So for people who have taken their samples who are waiting for the results, how do you calm yourself? I mean, there are doctors I've spoken to who have said when they took the test, waiting for the results is almost felt, sometimes you feel there's something in your throat, you're almost feeling like you have it. What's going on, like, if you're waiting for your results?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mama V. It is not mentally easy. In fact, this pandemic is affecting our physical life as much as our mental health. It goes right from the time you go through the screen and you are told for the first time that you are a suspected case or you are likely to have COVID-19. And so we have to go and screen you. And so even before you get your samples taken, there are a whole lot of mental and psychological, including emotional symptoms that take place or that rise up in individuals. Is it it? Is it going to be it? Is it going to be positive, etc.? And then when your sample is taken, whilst you wait for your results, it is not easy. People become very anxious. There is a woman I spoke to that said that I'd rather die than to wait for these results because I've heard how it is killing people, etc. And so people become really, really anxious in the waiting period. And that is why the mental health aspect of this pandemic should not be neglected. Otherwise, as has already been said, what will kill people will not even be this disease, but other conditions or other complications rather.
Do you think we've effectively incorporated that in our fight against COVID-19?
Please say again.
I'm asking if you think we've effectively incorporated the mental health aspect of this against the fight against COVID-19.
I don't think we have done enough at all. I don't think we've done enough at all. What I am getting is that we only rope in mental health aspects when the individual actually starts showing signs of mental distress, etc. But it should be part of the whole process, right from the beginning. When a patient is said that, looking at your symptoms, we suspect that you may have COVID-19, isolate yourself and let us screen you. And that psychosocial support should not be given to only the patient, but to the healthcare provider as well. If you are sitting at the triage and you see these patients who seemingly have symptoms that are very suspicious, there is that instant fear or anxiety that grip you. And so the support should be given both to the healthcare providers and to the patients right from the beginning, throughout the time they are diagnosed, they are in the isolation centers. In fact, WHO recommends that 1 month post-recovery, people should still receive psychosocial support. And I don't see that being actively done in the country.
I see Dr. Samuel Essien-Baidu. I can hear you. Hopefully we have we don't have the breaks that we're experiencing. He's a virologist with the University of Cape Coast. Now we're trying to understand how else we can fight this virus here in our country. And I've been asking you, Dr. Essien-Baidu, very ordinary questions that I hear people also ask. If we'd say, and let me just quote something, when the president was lifting the lockdown, he said, and I quote, "We have a better understanding of the dynamism of the virus." And one would interpret that ordinarily to mean that we shouldn't be going up with the figures. And that's why I asked the earlier questions that I asked you. So how do you explain to the ordinary person that we understand the dynamism of the virus and yet the case counts still going up, and then we see other regions also recording high numbers? So let me just straight away on the back of that ask, are we approaching this right?
Yes, we are approaching this right. I think that as a country, we've developed the right models to understand the dynamism of the virus, as the president indicated. Our numbers do not necessarily seem to be rising because we have a backlog of tests that we're still doing, which basically would give us some high numbers within the periods that these samples have been taken. What is interesting is the fact that, and I repeat that again, that if you look at our infection rates per million of our population, it is still below 1, which is a very good sign for us. So I think we're doing something good with regards to minimizing the spread of the virus.
Let me come to you, Dr. Usu Entry, and she's head of psychiatry unit at the Komfo Anokye Teaching Hospital. How do I know if I'm really exhibiting symptoms of this virus, or is just my mind playing tricks on me, especially if I've taken the tests and I'm awaiting the results?
There are several symptoms that would show up physically. There could be palpitations. At the news of sample has been taken or a diagnosis has been made, people can suddenly have headaches. They can feel detached or numb suddenly. There could be breathlessness. Cognitively, people feel that they are overwhelmed. They get confused. They they start to blame themselves. Was it my fault? I shouldn't have gone that place. I shouldn't have done this or that. Then fear grip you. People become anxious. Some people become angry at the whole system, become angry at nobody in general. Then sleep is affected. You are always awake throughout the whole night. Your appetite is affected. So when these changes start occurring in you, then you realize that, no, my mental health is being affected by this pandemic. Generally, if people start experiencing a change in their normal self, then they should start becoming cautious. They should get some mental health aspect to assist them and to support them. So a general move from you, if you are already a bubbly, talkative, extrovert person, and then suddenly you become withdrawn, or the reverse, if you are withdrawn and then suddenly you start becoming extrovert, talkative, that is a change from your normal self, and you should be cautious and wary of it in these challenging moments.
Dr. Asian Baidu, let me rope you in this conversation in terms of all the angles being covered as we move forward with the fights. If you've been listening to Dr. Usu-Antwi, she says that we haven't done enough with roping in the mental aspect of this in the whole fight. Where do you stand on that?
I think I agree perfectly with her. Again, this also draws us into the issues of stigmatization when it comes to the spread of the virus. We need to do a lot more to encourage people in terms of building up the mental health capacity, to appreciate the dynamics of the infection so that we can totally appreciate the well-being of all these individuals. Like she rightly said, people become agitated, people become withdrawn, people become afraid, and that also would lead to the possibility of these people not honestly reporting signs and symptoms, which may also lead to the infectious agents remaining in the communities and spreading further to other people. So it is important that we look at that aspect as well.
Did you give a hint that the numbers may go up in the coming days, but still with that confidence that it's not alarming?
Yes, I believe the numbers may go up in the coming days. If you look at the predictive mathematical models that have been developed by quite a number of people in the country and what has been done elsewhere, our case count may increase a little bit up to about May ending, but would still be within the appreciable rate in terms of the total infections per million population of Ghana. And that is not alarming at all.
So, Dr. Usu-Antwi, how do I get convinced that when I see the numbers climb up, as in the charts, and even though some have said it's not good for you to be monitoring, everybody is ready. As soon as Information Ministry say we have a press briefing, people are waiting for the case counts, whether it's gone up or it's stable. How do I convince myself that even though I see the numbers go up and recoveries that low, it's still not alarming? Mentally, how do I psych myself up that way?
You would have to believe in the system. If an aspect comes and tells us that these rising numbers are because of A, B, C, D, and that we should not be alarmed, you would have to believe in the aspect. The virologists are talking, the public health experts are talking, and they are telling us that what we are seeing in the rise in numbers is probably backlog samples, and that we are at a better state of controlling the spread and all that. Take your information from the right source, and if you are getting it from the right source, then there is no point to be worried. Again, one thing that can help us reduce our anxiety about this pandemic is that we should balance the rate at which we are checking these numbers. People are constantly on the net, constantly on the social media, just checking numbers, rising numbers. Some people go beyond Ghana and they are checking it all over the world. The advice to help us reduce our anxiety is to check once in a while in the course of the day. Some people have advised that just decide that maybe 6 a.m., 6 p.m., or probably just once in the day, you will get to the right source or a good news channel like Joy News and get an update of these numbers instead of constantly checking up on websites, on social media for these figures. That would also help in reducing the anxiety.
That almost sounds impossible when we're on various WhatsApp groups and you don't call for it, people just forward things to you.
So the phone or your electronic gadget is yours. You choose to open those documents forwarded to you or not. You can be on social media to just distract yourself, doing other things, getting in touch with friends, hooking up with friends virtually, and keeping the social communication going, rather than being on a particular site, say WHO site or Ghana Health Service site, constantly just following up figures and reading graphs and trying to do some interpretations on your own. And so whatever electronic gadget you are holding, even people should extend or forward messages to you. It is your duty to open this information and check or not. And so the advice is that let us balance how often we follow up with these figures in the course of the day. It will be advisable for each person to dedicate a particular time, even if it's 30 minutes in the day, just to abreast themselves with current issues, current protective measures, current numbers concerning the pandemic in the country.
Dr. Essien Baidu, Dr. Osuanchi talks about trusting the system and believing what the experts say. Do you think we need a daily kind of briefing so that if people know that, oh, they're being communicated to every day, at least on the situation at hand, then they can say confidently? Because I'm sure you've heard some people say, oh, I think they're holding on to some of the numbers and they're just releasing them because they don't want to bring it all out at the same time.
Not necessarily. I believe that we can improve upon communication to build trust among the populace. What I see lacking basically is the fact that people don't trust the information that comes, and so they're speculating here and there and all of that. I need that we can improve upon communication, not necessarily on a daily basis, but for instance, issues relating to backlog of tests, communities where contacts have been traced and have been found infected and other things can be made known to the public so that such people can be a bit more calm. And that would also build trust in whatever is being sold to the public, and that would also help in the fight as well.
Please explain this to us. There is a backlog, samples that have been collected, still testing, and we're getting to know the results. But we know that there are secondary contacts as well. So if you took my sample and I don't know what the results is yet, I will still be waiting. Meanwhile, I have made contacts with other people. What happens? Because does it mean that until my result is known, the other possible people that I have contacted may not even know what's going on with me, so they may have no idea and still be going on with normal business?
I think that is our biggest challenge. And if you look at the measures that have been put in place so far, particularly physical distancing and then the wearing of the mask, I must say that quite a number of people are insensitive to other people. And so because they are not showing any overt signs and symptoms, people refuse to wear the mask. Even those who wear them do not wear them properly. You walk through town and you see people cover only their mouth and leave the nose. Others would cover the nose and leave the mouth and all of that. Now, what this happens, when this happens, basically what happens is that if my sample has been taken and is in the backlog, it means that potentially I may be a carrier of the virus. Now I have to be sensitive to all the other people around me. So I practice social distancing, physical distancing. I wash my hands regularly. I put on my mask properly so that I protect myself as well as all the secondary contacts that are around me. And that is what I think we should encourage. That is what I think the communication should highlight a lot more on. So that whilst we wait for the test results to come, we would be able to practice this thing and then prevent the spread of the infection.
Dr. Owusu-Antwi, we've heard about some, and I have spoken to a medical practitioner who tested positive for COVID-19. Last Friday, as we were celebrating Fort Liners and clapping for them, one of the nurses on duty also talked about how people in her neighborhood fear getting close to her, knowing that she's a nurse in a facility where she takes care of COVID-19 patients. What is there particularly for practitioners? We know in Accra, the UGMC, University of Ghana Medical Center, has come up with an app. They basically want medical or health practitioners to reach out and share symptoms and things going on with them so that they can help them. But in terms of how we're fighting this disease, what kind of particular attention are we paying to healthcare practitioners?
Well, it's amazing that in all of this, the mental health of healthcare providers have been relegated to the background. The stigma is an issue. Once you work in the hospital, you go home and the usual thing of your children coming to embrace you, coming to welcome you, is all now have been put on hold. You want to make sure that you put away everything that you brought from the hospital, enter the house through a backyard or shower somewhere before you even get home. I was talking to some of my colleagues who were saying that now they don't want their kids to come close. And as much as you explain to these kids, because they are home all the time, they would wish that they would cuddle around mommy and daddy and all that. But we are keeping our distance. In fact, there are some health workers who have actually moved out of home, or they are actually staying in their guest rooms just to make sure that in case they get infected, they do not infect they do not pass on the infection to their family. And so healthcare providers must constantly receive psychosocial support. What I have advised the health team at Komfo Anokye, for instance, is that at the end of every shift, the team should come together, do some short form of debriefing. How was the day like? How was the shift like? Were there difficulties along the line? Was there any points that actually broke you down or you are having challenges with, so that the emotional trauma is not carried on to the following day? So at the end of every shift, the team that were on duty should do a quick debriefing. There should be the presence of a clinical psychologist or mental health expert to go through that shift with them and make sure that they are all fine and settled and ready to face the next day. So these are some of the things that we should put in place. Everywhere, health workers must constantly receive psychosocial support, especially those who are working on the isolation wards, those who are at the triage, and those who are really people who meet patients at the first point of call. Everyone should get some form of psychosocial support, and it should run through the entire period of this pandemic.
Dr. Essien, this is a very good call. Is it something that can easily be done across?
Oh yes, I think it can easily be done across, and we have a lot of people who can support this as well.
Okay, I was thinking that we would what would get us to incorporate some of these things. You know, when we have conversations with people with expert knowledge in these areas, there are a lot of things that are shared, but how do we nationalize it, you know, going forward? So we know the states, for instance, took care of money matters. And in the initial stages, everybody was thinking risk allowance. But as we move on, we realize that it's not just about money. If you don't have the right mental health, you can't even enjoy the money that you earn in the end. So how do we nationalize all these ideas that come together? Beautiful idea shared right there by Dr. Owusu-Antwi.
I think we need to let the science and the information that we gather in terms of the evidence guide us in our decision making. And we need to use the best information out there to make all these decisions. Politicians should be committed to relying on the science, the evidence, and the expertise to guide their decision-making processes. Once we can have that done, I am sure we should be fighting this head-on.
Before we wrap up, I want us to talk briefly about the recovery rates. You are a virologist, Dr. Essien Badu, and you believe we're on the right track. We're doing way better than a lot of the other countries. In terms of the recovery, is it still good, the rates?
Our recovery is not so good. We may have to interrogate a little bit more the interventions that have been put in place in terms of how we are managing the active cases that we have identified so far, and probably do a local review of the management strategies to see if we can speed up the recovery rate as well. I think that locally there are also some ethnopharmaceutical agents that have been purported to be very good at fighting the virus. We need to also look at probably investing in research of some of those ethnopharmaceuticals to see if that can also be used to augment the orthodox pharmaceuticals that we have in managing the infection. I'm sure if we can have a blend of these two, our recovery rates should be increasing by the day.
Should we ease or be thinking about easing what we have going on? I mean, when we talk about easing, especially because of the lockdown and that lockdown has been lifted, people forget that we still have other directives regulating us, even though some people flout those directives. We've seen it happening with the chieftaincy issue. Should we begin to be thinking about easing further what we have done? Dr. Essien Badu.
Not at all, not at all, not at all. As I said earlier on, we need to be sensitive to ourselves and then to the people.
But the numbers are good from the experts like yourself. We're doing well. The numbers are good. We've taken enough samples. These are backlog cases that we're testing. So we should be looking at moving forward as a society.
Yes, but we can only move forward if we continue to social distance, continue to physical distance, wear masks, and then prevent further spread of the virus. I think that it is important that we let people understand the fact that if we don't adhere strictly to the protocols that have been laid down, there is always that potential of having an exponential increase. Now, if you go to some of the corporate institutions, there's a notice on, or you find notices on their doors or the entrance saying that no mask, no entry. But ask yourself, a woman who is to the street is wearing a mask. A person coming to buy the tomato is not wearing a mask. And for me, that is the greatest issue we need to look at. We need to enforce all these regulations. If you go to some places, people suddenly have forgotten that we need to socially distance, we need to physically distance, we need to wash our hands, and it's as if everything is back to normal. We need to enforce these things so that the small numbers of infections we have within our communities, we can manage them, we can treat them, and get it out of our communities entirely.
Dr. Owusu-Antwi, how else do we do this? Because we can't always get law enforcement to enforce these directives? These are things that we should incorporate in our daily lives, and it has to become a habit. How do we do it?
Well, psychologically, it's said that when somebody does something over and over again, over a 21-day period, it is likely to become a habit. The only way we can enforce some of these things and make it part of us is to ensure that they are constantly being done. Even if it would take law enforcing agents to come into the picture and make sure that people are wearing masks. If the police is on the road and they meet you, and now one of the criteria to bypass a barrier or to drive past them is that you are wearing a mask, then it should be done. As human beings, we don't want change, or change does not easily come with us. And so some form of law enforcement must come in. When you go out to buy anything and people are queuing close to each other, there must be somebody standing somewhere ensuring that social distancing is kept, ensuring that there are hand sanitizers. And so nationwide, there should be some laws passed such that even at our workplaces, at our shops, in the markets, all over the country, people are insisting that these infection prevention measures are carried out to the letter. If we're able to do that consistently for about 21 days, they are likely to become a habit and stay with us for good. And since this pandemic broke in the country, it's well over 21 days.
Okay, so Dr. Usontwi, we lost you briefly, but I just wanted to say you reminded us of trusting the system in your earlier submissions. When we see law enforcement agencies not act, the same way, if it's selective acting, if you like, how do we trust that same law enforcement agency? How do we trust the system when we don't see law enforcement being carried out in an equitable manner? Okay, I think we lost you there. So let me put that to you, Dr. Samuel Essien-Baidu. I hope you heard me.
Yes, I think that education should still continue. We need to.
Is it the agencies responsible for the enforcement that we have to educate?
Yes, we need to educate them as well. And as I said earlier on, I think politicians should be committed to relying on the science and the evidence to act. If the law enforcement agencies themselves are not complying with the directives, it would make it difficult for them to supervise anybody in that same regard. And I think that we need absolute commitment from everybody, from politicians, from law enforcement agencies, and everyone, so that we can win this fight.
Okay, Dr. Samuel Essien-Baidu, a virologist with the University of Cape Coast. Well, we'll keep talking to you because, this disease is with us. Dr. Usontwi, I don't know if you're... Okay, we lost you there. I just wanted to rope you in and link you to our next conversation. There's also another aspect of this mental health that we need to discuss, and that's the fact that quite a number of people have lost their jobs, a number of people haven't been paid. Things have changed in the workplace. People are working from home. Not everybody can do that. So we're talking about how HR has, how work has changed. Up next, we've got some great personalities discussing this new working, whatever protocols or what we're doing now, whether or not it has come to stay. How do those who are not able to work comfortably where they live also do that? That's our next conversation. Stay with us. Roland Walker will lead us.
If you look at the wider implications on the sector that you work with, as well as the other professional groupings within the circles that you interact with, there are people who definitely could have their jobs going off. But could they ultimately have other opportunities within the environment to also take on new roles? Could they have better opportunities elsewhere, knowing that people could work remotely and so their work would not be needed at their present environment where they work?
Well, Roland, as I think Akosua mentioned, even with the passing of COVID, remote working, I believe, has come to stay. And like I mentioned in my intro, for those in the tech space, this has been business as usual. And so I believe the shift is gradually engulfing the rest of the workspace, basically those who are not the IT guys. Now, in terms of the opportunities, once the world is gradually shifting that way, definitely any new technology that comes up always comes up with both opportunities as well as challenges. And so, yes, there would be new opportunities for people to take up some of these work from home roles. Those who may not be in a position to try and adapt would obviously suffer the consequences and may lose their jobs, etc. For some of the financial institutions, for instance, they have started creating even online learning platforms for their employees. And this is to help them to even acquire some new skills in some of these areas, as well as enhance their way of working. So yes, I don't think, as one of the panelists also mentioned, employers are also concerned and wouldn't just want to lose, especially critical staff. And so they are also creating some of these opportunities and avenues to enhance staff skills, etc., so that even if they may have to basically stop or lose what they are doing, they could then be ready to fit in other roles that will help them to still, keep their livelihood.
Now, as we wrap up in the next 10 minutes, let me just tease out something that I took from Forbes. Now, Forbes is reporting how the impact of the coronavirus could have on HR and the new normal. Now, when you scroll up, it gives you the indication that organizations would need to ensure that ultimately they are in a position to do improved training to staff, and you have already indicated how that is also helping as well. And for example, they said ramp up training and investment in remote working. Whatever that means, I still will have to get acquainted with it since you are the professionals in there. Now, it also says that, you provide training on how to work remotely while within the period of the coronavirus. You also provide training to employees on how to successfully work remotely, provide training to managers on how to manage remote workforce, and then provide mentoring to employees on how to successfully work from home, and then provide coaching to managers on how to successfully manage a remote workforce. We have more frequent manager check-ins with remote workers, create employee resource group for remote workers, and then other things. Now, Dr. Amponsah-Tawia, this is telling us or showing us new ways by which HR indicators could impact how workers are assessed. I'm getting from this article that even managers and shareholders don't have a clue as to how this needs to be done. Since you are consultants, etc., how do we roll this out in our country?
Well, thank you very much. I must also indicate that, this whole COVID-19 pandemic indeed exposes most of the industries as not being learning organizations. Well, when we talk about learning organizations, these organizations that will indeed create environment that support learning, and for that matter, allows employees to easily adapt to change. And indeed, if most organizations were to be learning organizations, well, getting employees adapt to change, as in the sense of you creating some multidisciplinary groups to be thinking about innovative ways of doing things within the organization,
would have been a norm, because this is something that happens in a learning organization. But as it stands now, the reason why you could have groups like Forbes talking about having to train employees from on how to work from home and train managers on how to manage people who are working remotely, etc., all point out to the fact that organizations are not learning organizations, and for that matter, have not, in any case, created an environment that allows employees to explore their full potential and own their space, for which reason contributing meaningfully to the organization. And when I talk about employees owning their space, they are owning their space with the goals of the organization in mind. Hence, these people are much more committed to the ideals and the values of the organization. I dare say that, well, in most organizations that we have, especially so in our country, if you have to go around and even to ask senior managers to tell you what is the vision and the mission and even the values of the organization, they cannot tell you. And this point out to it because, well, in this situation, that is where in an environment where employees have internalized the values, the mission, and the vision, well, they are able to look out for creative ways that enhance the vision and the mission of the organization. And I'm thinking that, well, yes, employers and shareholders now have to be thinking strategically on how to make employees an integral part of their business. And for that matter, be able to develop and build multidisciplinary teams that will be thinking through the challenges that we currently have and be looking into the future to position the organization to take advantage of the opportunities that will present them in the future. And I'm thinking that that is the way to go. Employers are not. And when it even comes to the way we even trying to cut down on the numbers and really rationalize stuff and so forth and so on, it is important that we understand that, well, at this time we need to allow cool heads to prevail, where we engage our employees, because employees themselves understand the current situation. And as we go engaging them, we are able to find very, very fertile grounds. We are able to find amicable solution to this without, indeed, impacting so negatively, because, well, employees would voluntarily come out with very useful ways of managing it, which goes a long way to present some success to both employees and employers. So I'm thinking that, well, this calls for some engagement with employees, and this calls for, I must also add that, well, maybe finally that, well, this also presents to us the health and safety situation at the workplace. Most employers have not considered the health and the well-being of employees. But as you realize, with the current COVID-19, which is a biological hazard, COVID is a biological hazard, especially for you, those who work in the media. I can imagine that in the media houses, you have several people coming to your studios and speaking into one microphone. In the past, you guys weren't changing the windshields. And you have several people coming in there and sharing the same microphone and speaking into it. But you reckon that, well, with COVID, you've seen the danger in work, and especially with the health and safety of people who even come to your studios and with people who work within your environment. So now you realize that, well, even when you are presenting microphones to your patrons, you are careful that, well, you don't get it very close to their mouth so as to get them really putting some saliva on it and so. But in the past, this wasn't something that came to our attention. It all says that, well, yes, the health and the safety, especially for key staff as cleaners within the organization, these are people we have ignored for a very long time. But with COVID, now we are seeing the importance of cleaners in organization. So I'm thinking that, well, yes, in as much as COVID has come with a lot of challenges to organization, well, it also presents opportunities for us to create learning organization, to look at our health and safety regimes in our organization, and be able to engage more with our employees.
Well, for the rest of you, I have to give you a minute each. I start with you, Akosua. Interacting with your other HR practitioners outside your organization, what is the thinking based on what is pertaining in our environment that could be the way forward when it comes to providing the right sort of incentives and then the environment for people to work remotely?
Okay, thank you.
Just for a minute.
For providing the right sort of incentives to employees, basically we need to ensure that all staff actually work to earn whatever they are earning currently. And the changes now, as in most organizations, for our organization, like I initially said, but then the conversation on the platforms that we are or belong to is that most companies will have to even relook at their benefits package now, because if you provide employees with, let's say, transport allowance and staff are working from home and the profit is not that good, this is an opportunity for you to look at how you can cut off a bit of that and rather keep their salaries intact rather than to cut salaries when things become very bad. And so to enable employees continue to pay salaries as expected, they are looking at starting off some other benefits that will to if they are not on, it won't really be a problem for them so much. So because if you are not commuting and your transport allowance is cut off slightly by a certain percentage, you should be able to manage. Okay. Also, we are looking at so some staff are working 24/7. For my end, a lot of staff are still working 24/7, and so it hasn't actually changed very much. But like I indicated, areas where we need to look at and beef up. In fact, those who are working 24/7, beef up to us to really motivate them to continue working. We're going through those areas that we need to look at and reduce so as to balance the equation for the others we equally will do. In terms of working going forward, we may have to look at changing quite a number of things. We may have to look at how we go about with our interview process, how we go about with our onboarding sessions, how we go about, with inductions and etc. And so many things will change. We have to ensure that staff are really engaged so that the confidence that they have in the organization will continue. We also have to ensure that we give them the needed skills to be able to work from home and be more productive. Okay. We are conducting or carrying out training sections such that we can get employees to be hooked onto our systems whilst they are not in the office or at work. Basically, these are some of the things we are putting in place, but generally, a lot will change. Employers will have to look at how they adjust their sick leave policies to accommodate all such requests that come in. We need to trust employees that going forward, they'll be truthful when they indicate they are not well, so we can let them stay at home just so that they don't come back to the office to infect others with whatever illness or diseases they are having. So basically, these are some of the discussions going on.
Well, thank you very much. And fortunately, we have to end the discussion. But I've had Frank Teddy Donkor, who is a banker and uses IT to do his work at his bank. And then also Professor Amponsa Tewia is the head of HR for University of Ghana Business School. And also we've had Sam Appiah, who is with the Public Utilities Workers Union. And thank you very much, all of you. I had wanted the two of you to do some wrap-ups in a minute, but that'll be it for now. I hope that we can continue some of these discussions wherever you find yourself. But we also do know that many private firms and non-governmental organizations have joined the fight against the virus. And today, we're finding out what the Royal Commonwealth Society in Africa is doing as part of its own contribution. It's up next.
My name?
Well, we told you about that, and the Commonwealth Initiative is doing all this. The head for Africa, it's right on stream. We also have Jocelyn Dumas also on stream as well, and Nana Sase. We know that he's a poet, spoken word artist, and all of you on stream. Good morning to all of you. Can you all hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning, Roland.
Well, great.
Good morning.
How are you?
Jocelyn. Yeah, okay. Yeah, cool. What are you drinking, Jocelyn?
If I told you, I'm going to have to kill you.
I love that. I love that. You have to kill me. Yeah.
Jocelyn, I hope it's legal.
It's very legal. No, it's legal. Yeah. It's green tea. Very legal. Green tea.
Because, Jocelyn, I can see that your eyes are red.
Charlie, I'm about to go and do my workout. So, yeah.
Okay, so it's because of the workout, not what you are drinking.
Oh, Bayupa, green tea. Come on now.
well, John, we all know the times in which we're in already. Many of the countries that you represent have been doing enough for this, but for the wider Commonwealth, what really is the structure of the plan, John?
Well, good morning to all your viewers. Good morning to you again. I think you guys, Joy, have been doing a sterling job in terms of being able to provide all the pertinent information. I think, first of all, I'll say that I think Ghana has done an amazing job. Ghana shall prosper after this. But most importantly, I think what the Commonwealth has sought to do is to provide the necessary data and evidence base for which to help a lot of countries to actually fight this pandemic. We've done that through our coronavirus tracking system that the Secretariat actually set up. Because, you know, now, especially for those of you in the media, evidence is everything, data is everything. It's data that actually drives what happens in the world. And I think for the African continent, we've been very fortunate that this time we're behind the curve. And because of that, you look at countries like Ghana, you look at Rwanda. Rwanda has no deaths at all. You know, you realize that in a lot of African countries, we're able to institute lockdowns and measures in place that a lot of the countries outside in Europe and America are not doing. You go everywhere, you have the Veronica buckets outside, you have the face mask, you know, and I think we're doing an amazing job. But from the perspective of the Commonwealth, all about data. And data we have aplenty. So we've been working with a lot of the governments of member states to give them all this data and to see how it feeds in their data. So we're working very much behind the scenes. And I remember a famous proverb that they say, "Ahimpa enkasa." No, we don't make too much noise, you know, but we are, I mean, Nana, I'm sure you give us some more proverbs. We are behind the scenes trying to lay structures for now and trying to lay structures for the future.
But Jocelyn, and first let me start with you, Jocelyn. Why did you decide to partner the Commonwealth to do this?
Oh, it's the Commonwealth now. Why not? But I also I think when John approached me about this whole idea of, you know, working as an ambassador, I was very excited. Thank you very much, John, and to the Commonwealth. But I think it came at the right time. And I don't want to say right time because of what is happening right now, but I think the time it came couldn't have been better, because I'm all for educating people on the need to sort of do the right thing in order for all of us to survive, be it from ex-cholera to a few campaigns that I've run in the past. So, I mean, I thought this would have been, this was a great thing, and I definitely wanted to be a part of it. Even if I wasn't a brand ambassador, being a Ghanaian and being a citizen of Ghana, this is something that I would 100% support. You know, so yeah. Yeah,
that's great. And Nana, it also means that all comes to a head, right? Rallying everything that you know should be done to involve yourself, your friends, to support this.
Yeah, Roland, you realize that I've always said, and I maintain that if what we do, especially as artists, does not go to improve society, then it means that we are not doing anything at all. And so once you have the opportunity to serve and put your talents at the disposal of society, then it means that we are getting somewhere. I have a personal interest in all this COVID issue because indirectly, I am directly behind the front lines. My mother is a district director of health services. So when I was approached by Commonwealth way before this COVID thing, I believe that, well, you see, art is one of the ways that we break down barriers the world over. And so why not put my art at the disposal of the Commonwealth? So I dare say that the Commonwealth is not the barriers we have in our nations. It's just the collection or collective of great minds and talents that we have the world over. Yeah, so it's a pleasure to be part of this. And it so happens that we're called to duty at this time to put our best at the disposal of the world. There could not be a better opportunity to do this.
Now, John, if we look at what the Commonwealth is doing from the economic front, how is it being done and how better can it be done?
Well, from the economic front, like I said earlier on, the ministers of finance and within Commonwealth countries 2 years ago actually met with their secretariat in London during one of their finance meetings. And they actually started to work on risk analysis within member countries to find out ways in which when there's issues around, usually it was around climate change we're thinking about. No one was thinking about what COVID could do to actually stop the entire world in its tracks. Our money didn't go there. But being able to have a risk analysis and be able to make sure that you have a fund that can go to member states at this time is something that I know post-COVID is going to really come in place. Because we're fighting a new enemy. And there is an enemy you can't see. If it's a country that is fighting you, you can easily go and fight or find ways to stop it. But you're fighting something that is like a ghost, you know? So you can't see it. So I think on the economic front, post-COVID, you're going to see a lot of the member states coming together because like our slogan says, united we stand, you know, divided we fall. It's all about staying united and seeing how we can use the aggregate power of the Commonwealth, because that's what the name stands for, the wealth of what we have in common. Using that aggregate force to be able to provide for all of us in times of need. And I'd like to say that one group that we represent in Ghana as well is the Commonwealth Enterprise and Investment Council, which is the business arm of the Commonwealth. And we have a lot of initiatives that we have planned out. We have something called the Commonwealth First that has already been set up. That is about providing SMEs with the opportunity to export outside. That is something you're going to see us doing in Ghana and across Africa. We have great minds like Sir Linton Crosby, who's a serious political strategist. You can Google him and find out what he's done. He's come out with a paper for our strategic partners within the Enterprise and Investment Council that shows them the areas to go into and how to make sure that you're able to have a more prosperous economy. And as I say, Africa will prosper and Ghana shall prosper.
Now, Jocelyn, when you hear of conversations like, well, economic assistance is being offered to many other African countries, we also do know that many of these countries in Europe and even in the UK itself, they're suffering, going to lose a lot in billions of their currencies just because of this. That could have a net effect on how they support us. We also do know that there are concerns about vaccines being tested in Africa in the future, etc. And when you do the interaction with your fans on your platforms, how do you tend to communicate or influence their opinions in many other related ways?
I mean, it starts with us, you know. Again, it's a pandemic. Everybody's going through it. Like you're saying, all the countries that would have given us assistance are also going through it. So I think that when I communicate with my following and my fans, I tell them, look, it's about you. There's some basic things you can do in order for you to protect yourself. Like the commercial, the advert we shot said, you know, ginger and onion and you know, alcohol is not going to cut it. You just need to take care of yourself. And that's something that I always try to instill in my followers. Like, at the end of the day, it starts with you. If we all brighten our little corner where we are, we're not going to now need to even rely on all these outside help or even internal help. So again, the basic washing of hands as regularly as you can, and the running water and soap, not touching your face when you go out there, you know, no handshakes. And I cannot even stress enough on the need to, you know, stay a little isolated. So we're not trying to, you know, group as before. People like us in the creative industries are really suffering because, for instance, even to shoot a movie, you need more than 5 people, or you need more than 20 people in order for you to get a very good quality, you know, because you have the gaffer, you have the sound, you have the light, you have everybody, but we're still telling people to stay put. Yeah. So I think that it starts from you and I, you know, as individuals, doing something in our own small way to brighten our little corner where we are, and then abide by the little rules that are working, you know, drink hot liquids when you can. Not to say that that's going to help you, but I guess boost your immune system, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables. So it's just the basic things that I can I do myself is what I tend to tell my followers to also follow. So yeah, that's in my own small way.
Okay, so let me just ask this question and we'll run through for the three of you. And John, if you look at the work that Joy News has been doing, how would you say has been within these times of providing the sort of information that we always do by way of content? Let me start with you, John.
Well, I raise up my hands to Joy all the time, and I think that's why with everything that we do, we've usually partnered with Joy in terms of being able to come out with accurate information. Dispel a lot of the myths. For me, when I go online and I'm looking for information that counts, I go on Joy. Because I know by the time I've seen it on Joy, it's been filtered. It's been filtered properly. And you're going to get accurate information. You're not going to get myths. And for us, that is one of the most important things. As Jocelyn was saying, in the ads that she shot, a lot of people think pepper or sunshine or ginger or alcohol, appetition, the rest. because the sanitizer works on the hand, a lot of people also works on the eyes, But being able to dispel those things are the best way to be able to fight this pandemic. And like Jocelyn rightly said, and Nana reiterated as well, it gets to a point where we have to realize that we have to depend on ourselves. You're looking for other people to always come to your rescue. The day when they are in trouble, you are finished. So for us, by us, we have to find ways to be self-reliant, and that's exactly. And that's why I'm looking at ways in which, like what the Ghana government is doing, we're printing our own face masks, printing our own overalls, using our factories that we have, and actually getting them to produce these things. You can't always be depending on people. It's about trade, it's about self-reliance, it's not about aid. And we have to slowly move away from that aid dependence. Because that really gets you stuck at times like this. You realize who your friends are,
Right. Nana, what about you? What Joy and the rest of its subsidiaries are doing at Multimedia?
Yes, so Roland, by now you already know I really want Joy. Have the time, trust me. I'm one of those late keepers who would sleep at 2 a.m., who would knock off late, come up early, and my dial is constantly on joining. You realize that you have a very unique approach to breaking the news. Otherwise, you go onto other platforms and you realize all you can read is panic, 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 panic. But Joy and its other subsidiaries, Multimedia and its subsidiaries, have been very dynamic in presenting, factors on COVID, from in-depth discussions on the economics, the arts, and there are several mornings you brought on other people to talk about what is really happening. You go out to bus stations, you go out to where people are really experiencing the hard-hitting stuff about COVID-19. And I think it's been good. Trust me, it gives so much information. If somebody decided not to go out, I think you keep them informed, you keep them well entertained, you keep them every reason to stay indoors and realize, look, the front line is just your doorstep. And I think other media houses should just take a cue from this. Look, the simple joys of life are right there in your house. Just tune into some place where they can give you very balanced discussions. I think Joy does that quite well. Please keep it up. Beyond COVID, the world will belong to people who are such proactive and such dynamic people in all the things they do. Congrats, thumbs up.
That's the related issue of speaking to orators, and the beautiful Jocelyn Duma, just in 30 seconds, what we're doing right here.
Let me tell you, you know me already. When it comes to multimedia, I'm part of the family, whether I like it or not. But yes, like everybody has said, like John and Anastasia has said, you guys are doing an amazing job. And obviously the myth busting, fact checking. When I'm reading about, let's say, the numbers escalating, or like Nana says, all this panic news, I go to Joy, and once I read Joy, it's a very well balanced reportage. I think that is something that even I tell my close family members and friends and guys, don't watch the news, don't watch the news, because I had friends, I even almost had a panic attack at the beginning of this whole thing. And I realized that the news was what was doing most of the damage. So I keep telling people, don't watch the news, but if you have to watch the news, please check on Joy FM, because that is the place where you will get accurate, balanced news. And I take my hats off for you guys, and even for your news reporters, going out there and bringing all the reportage to us.
Time is up.
Cut. Thank you.
Jocelyn, cut. Well, we have to say thank you to all of you. John up here.
Roland, what?
Time is up. You wanted to say? Mama V is here. Mama V, speak to John. Okay. Thank you. All right, Mama V.
Okay, it's been fun. I wanted you to continue, but we have to wrap up. We thank you for joining us and enjoying our show. We'll be back tomorrow, God willing, but definitely stay with us here on Joy News. Take care of yourselves, stay safe, wear the mask. See you soon.